Okay, welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the sources you share, strip them down, and really get into the core ideas, trying to make sense of it all.
Right, cutting through the noise. And today, we've got material from a couple of videos, really interesting stuff. We're going to ignore the titles, the platform. Let's focus on the actual message.
Yeah, exactly. And what jumped out really was this kind of split focus.
Definitely. On one side, you've got this intense focus on trading, like real discipline, perseverance needed, specifically futures, ES, and NASDAQ U.
And then the other side is, well, it's a bit more alarming. A sense of urgency about, the future, big changes coming, needing to be ready.
A real contrast. So maybe let's start with the trading part. That seemed quite structured.
Good idea. So the speaker in, the first piece we looked at, makes this pretty bold claim. Says you could potentially just trade ES, the E-mini S&P 500, or NASDAQ U futures. That's it?
Yeah, just one. And the simplicity, or apparent simplicity, is kind of striking. They talk about looking for divergences.
Right, divergences. Sell models in the spring, buy models in the fall. That's the core of it.
That seems to be the strategy presented, yeah. The belief being that everything you need to know, it's right there in the price action on those charts. No need for tons of indicators or news, apparently.
Okay. And there's a real sense of pride, it sounds like, in people who've learned this.
Yeah.
Students succeeding.
Oh, definitely. He mentions students applying these ideas, even recording their own trades, sort of proving the concepts independently.
So it's like the proof is in the pudding, the knowledge transfer is happening, it works.
Exactly. It's presented as evidence that the strategies aren't just theory, but, practically applicable,
Right.
which leads to that very direct line.
Ah, yeah, I remember that one. Let me get it right. If they can do it, you can fucking do it.
Mm-hmm. Pretty motivating, or intended to be.
Mhm.
But right after that comes the reality check.
Yet it takes work, serious effort.
Yeah, it's not magic. He acknowledges, it's going to be tough, maybe tougher for some than others, but you absolutely have to persevere. You got to dig your heels in.
There's that phrase again. And also the idea that if it's not hard, maybe it's not worth it. If it ain't rough, it ain't right.
Sort of framing the difficulty as a positive sign, almost. Like, yeah, this is hard because it's valuable. Don't shy away from the struggle.
Okay, so how does that translate into like a practical path? Is there a timeline suggested?
There is, yeah. It sounds like roughly a year-long commitment to really get going. Starts with about 6 months of backtesting and tape reading, really learning the patterns.
6 months just studying the past, essentially.
Right. And then after that, another 3 to 6 months of trading consistently profitably, but in a demo account, simulated money.
Okay, so prove it to yourself without risk first. That makes sense. And only then do you even think about live trading.
Exactly. Consistent profitability in demo seems to be the trigger point to consider using real money. But, and this is important, it's not pushed as mandatory.
Right, it's a personal choice. Depends on your own comfort level with risk, I guess.
Totally. The system doesn't dictate it. And he actually offers an alternative for people who are maybe good at the demo trading, but, hesitant to risk their own cash.
Which is?
Running a signal service. Basically, you share your successful demo trades, people subscribe, and you potentially make money that way.
Huh. Interesting. So you leverage the skill without the personal trading risk.
Yeah, and the speaker seems pretty okay with that model as long as the subscribers are getting value. It acknowledges that huge psychological leap, doesn't it, between demo and live trading?
Oh, absolutely. That fear of actual loss changes everything.
Right.
Okay, so that covers the trading side pretty well. Discipline, timeline, perseverance. Now let's pivot to that other message. The tone shifts dramatically.
It really does. The second video or the second set of ideas hits you with this real sense of urgency, like time is running out.
Running out for what exactly?
For the way things are now. The message is basically these freedoms, these opportunities we have, don't take them for granted. Big change is coming, and it could be, quote, real sudden.
Okay, real sudden. That sounds ominous. Does he get specific about what kind of change?
Well, yeah, he talks about potential shortages, food, over-the-counter medicines, basic resources, things we rely on.
Wow. Okay. That's quite a prediction.
And he brings up the toilet paper shortages from, a while back. Uses it as an example of how quickly things can get weird and how unprepared people were.
Right. That was definitely a wake-up call for some. So the advice is
to take this serious. Very direct. He even uses the phrase Noah's Ark event type thing.
Noah's Ark. Okay, that's painting a pretty stark picture.
Definitely. Lots of storm clouds are growing kind of language.
Yeah.
And a real push to stop fucking around and actually prepare now.
Does he give any reason why he's so confident about this?
He mentions he's been saying similar things since 2019, so for him, it's not a new idea, it's something he's seen developing.
So there's a conviction there, built over time.
Yeah, and a warning, that people who ignore this might face regret and a kind of stress that makes current money worries look small.
So beyond the general warning, what's the practical advice for this scenario? Is it just about trading?
No, not at all. This part shifts completely away from charts. It's about practical stuff. Get what you can when you can get it. Stocking up on non-perishables, making sure your house is ready, secure.
Basic preparedness, essentially.
Pretty much. And the feeling is that this disruption, whatever it is, won't be localized. It's coming everywhere.
He also mentioned something about priming, related to past health events.
Yeah, that was mentioned. Sort of hinting that past measures might have set a precedent, and maybe future mandates could affect your ability to work or earn income. It ties into this broader uncertainty.
So even mastering trading, which was the focus of the first part, might not be enough to navigate this kind of potential future.
That seems to be the underlying message, yeah. He acknowledges that trading might not be the complete answer. There's even uncertainty expressed about where to actually keep wealth safe, suggesting maybe nothing will be totally secure.
Wow. Okay, that's a heavy thought.
Yeah.
Does he talk about things like the Great Reset or universal basic income? Those ideas float around sometimes.
He does mention them, yeah, and seems to view them quite negatively as scenarios he rejects. But then there's an interesting twist. He suggests that the sheer number of people getting into trading now, these sort of independent entrepreneurs, might actually be a buffer. He calls them mavericks and rebels.
Like they're less tied to the traditional systems and maybe more adaptable.
Perhaps. Less susceptible to control, maybe? It's an interesting framing. But even then, he throws out some serious potential curveballs for markets themselves.
Like what?
Things like, what if the stock market just closes for a while? Or central bank digital currencies come in and completely change how Forex works? Or even, currencies unifying somehow.
Good grief. Those are major potential disruptions to the very thing people are learning to trade.
Exactly. And it leads right back to that core question he puts to the listener. Fundamentally, are you prepared for something like that? It goes way beyond just having a trading plan.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, it's really two quite powerful threads running alongside each other.
Yeah, absolutely. First, this deep dive into a specific focused trading method requires discipline, requires that grit, that perseverance we talked about. Potential for success, but it's work.
Right, and then boom, this second thread hits you. A pretty stark warning about potentially huge societal economic shifts, urging awareness, urging practical preparation.
So the takeaways feel kind of layered, don't they? Like, yes, master your skills, dig deep, persevere in whatever you're learning, whether it's trading or something else, that's valuable.
But don't get so focused on that one thing that you ignore the bigger picture, the potential storms gathering.
Precisely. Keep your eyes open to the wider world, be aware, and think about what being prepared actually means for you. It's not necessarily just about having food stored, it's broader than that.
It definitely leaves you with a lot to chew on. Thinking about it, does that focused trading approach feel realistic, achievable?
Yeah.
If you put in that year of effort? Or does the bigger picture warning overshadow it? How do you balance those two things?
Yeah, how do you weigh that personal skill development against these potentially massive external forces? It's a tough balance.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening, building on all this. Given the focus on skill building and this call for broader readiness, what's maybe one single actionable thing you could consider doing? Doesn't have to be huge. Could be looking into a new skill. Could be just having a serious conversation about preparedness, with family or friends. Just one step.
Yeah, just one thing. Based on all this, what would that one thing be for you today? Something concrete to think about.